shooting to the left. Okay, that was bang on. Now for the accuracy test. So a pellet in each of the outer targets. Whoa, that went way off. And again. It's madness. Hello and welcome to the DRS. Now in front of me is the FX DRS .22 sub 12 foot-pound PCP air rifle. PCP stands for pre-charged pneumatic, for those of you that don't know. And as you can see, it's a traditional sporting style air rifle. For the moment guys, ignore the optics and ignore the camera on the end of the optics. Basically we're just talking about the air rifle for now. As you can see, if you're kind of aware of the PCP scene, this is going against the norm. The norm meaning that there isn't a bottle or a cylinder or another bottle attached to the rifle. The cylinder itself is actually surrounding and encasing or enshrouding the barrel. I believe FX has done this to reduce the profile of the rifle and also in order to provide stiffness for the barrel, and in doing so hopefully making it more accurate, but we'll find out about that later on. What I'm going to do with this review basically is break it down into elements. So I'm going to talk about the specs. I'm then going to basically show you footage of me shooting the rifle outside, and then I'm going to rate the rifle for design and build and accuracy and performance. So let's make a start. Now, a chap called Fredrik Axelsson, if you don't know of him, well, he's the founder of FX, and basically he's an enthusiast. He loves air rifles, and when he first started shooting he was looking for something that would meet his requirements, but he couldn't find it. So in 1999 he set up a company in Mariestad, Sweden, named it FX, and started building his own air rifles. I don't think there is an air gunner on this planet that hasn't heard of FX. Such is the success of the brand, of the company. I mean, they have swept the board. They've only been around since 1999, so, you know, not a long time, not a long, 25 years, probably coming into the 26th year now, and regarded as market leaders for innovative technologies, you know, for bringing us a fully tunable air rifle. And that's amazing, it really is. But saying that, they do have their drawbacks, and one of them is the fact that when you have an air rifle that is so highly tunable, it generally favours a full power version air rifle. When you're talking sub 12 foot-pound, which is our limit here in the UK, that tunability falls by the wayside. It really does. You're kind of wanting a rifle that has been specifically set up for the 12 foot-pound market, not something that you can tune, because to be fair, it's not going to benefit you at all, not at that low power. Anyway, let me crack on. Let's talk about the specs of the rifle. So, as you can see, and as I've said, it's the DRS. It comes in several variants, and guys, you're going to see me looking down because I've got my notepad here, or my notebook, and I'm going to refer to this a lot because there are quite a few different specs to go through, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information. So, with regards to variants, and by the way, wherever I can, I'm going to pop images on screen so that you can see the different variations, and you know, we can go from there. I digress. Right, variants. DRS Classic 500mm, which is what you can see here. 500mm refers to the length of the barrel, by the way. You then get the DRS Classic 600mm, the DRS Walnut 500mm, the DRS Walnut 600mm, the DRS Pro 600, and the DRS Pro 700. The Pros basically are PRS rifles, precision rifle shooting rifles. There, you know, they've got the fully adjustable stocks, custom stocks, and there's a lot of difference in price between the basic model, which is this one, and the Pro model, somewhere in the region of £2,000, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. With regards to calibers, it's available in .177, .22 and .25 calibers, so 4.5mm, 5.5mm and 6.35mm. And with regards to barrel lengths, you've got 500mm, 600mm and 700mm. Now, these barrels have liners within them, so they're not like many of the air rifles that are either cold hammer forged or bung rifled. They actually have a sleeve within them which can be swapped out and changed depending on the caliber and the type of ammunition that you're going to be using, be it pellet or slug. But so as you know, and I'm going to go through this again, the classic 500mm, the classic 600mm and the Pro 600mm all have superior STX barrel liners. The Pro 700mm comes with a superior heavy STX barrel liner. And I'm guessing really that's because they're kind of tuning it more towards the slug scene than they are pellets. The stocks, well, what you can see here is a synthetic stock. I'm not sure who makes this. The walnut stocks are made by Manelli. This one, with the quality of it, I'm going to assume that it might be Manelli as well, or it could be in-house within FX. I really don't know. I'm going to talk about that later on in build quality, but yeah, this one obviously is synthetic. The synthetic is available in just the black. The walnut, you have two versions. You've got the plain walnut and you've got the walnut with rosewood fore-end cap. And then of course if you go to the DRS Pro, then you're talking about a sort of custom made stocks which you can swap the action out of this and put into that stock if you want to. Now, when we look at the rifle itself, and we're talking about the stock, and we may as well start there. The buttstock here, to the back of the rifle, we have a rollover comb which makes it ambidextrous, so it's good for left or right-handed shooters. There is a rubber butt pad here, and there is a screw that kind of locks that butt pad onto the stock. Now, I don't know whether this is adjustable. I'm not messing around with it because it's not my rifle, it's on loan to me. It's been very kindly lent to me by Mark from Guns R Us in Sheffield. But yeah, as I say, it's a new rifle, so I don't want to mess around with it, and I don't know whether that will adjust up and down. There's certainly no in or out movement with it. And with regards to the comb, that's fixed, so that can't go up or down either. The fore end is nicely shaped, as you can see, but it's a soft touch synthetic stock. It really it doesn't have much kind of about it other than what you can see, but you know, a spoiler alert, it's probably one of the finest quality synthetic stocks I've seen in a long time, certainly in the rifles that I've reviewed, that's for sure. But again, I'll talk about that more in detail later on. Let me carry on. So when you look at the chassis, it's made up of or the guts of the rifle, it's made up of several different materials by the looks of it. You've got an aluminium body, you've got steel and brass moving parts. So how that kind of works with regards to dissimilar metals, I don't know. Obviously FX must have looked into that, because you know, you don't want a rifle that's going to start corroding on you, that's for sure. But yeah, it's, you know, and as you can see, it comes in black. As far as I know, there are no other colours available with this setup as yet. When it comes to features, whenever you're dealing with a traditional style rifle, there's not a lot really that you can add to it. It's not very adjustable. So if we look at the stock again, as I said, there's no adjustability on the comb, it stays as it is, but it is ambidextrous. There are no sling studs fitted to the bottom of the stock here. You can shoot it either as a wraparound or as a thumb up position, okay, and the grip is ambidextrous, so both left and right handed shooters can use it. The forend as well is nicely shaped, but again, there are no studs, so you can't attach a sling to it and you can't attach a bipod to it, and there are no additional Picatinny rails on this either, so it's very, very basic in its format. There is a hole here which accepts the filler probe, and I'm going to go on to the metalwork now. Basically, the cocking lever is on the right hand side. I'm not going to cock it fully, but it's not ambidextrous, so it's fixed to the right hand side, as is the safety mechanism. You'll see it here, it's in safe at the moment. Push it forward, it's in fire, back to safe. The manometer, which is FX's manometer, is here. White on black, no kind of traffic line system on it, and I will talk about this in more detail as we go ahead. Underneath, or within the forend, you can see what looks like a magazine. That's actually the plenum. It's meant to resemble, you know, a magazine on, say, a centerfire rifle or a rimfire rifle, and it does look the part, that's for sure. The trigger guard is metal, although it's fixed in place with a, if I get this right, a posi screw on the back and a hex bolt or screw on the front. So two different types of screws. A little bit frustrating when you have to take the trigger guard off, and in order to be able to adjust the trigger, you've got to take that guard off. The trigger itself, basically it's a blade on post setup, two-stage affair, very, very predictable, that's for sure. But again, I'm going to talk about that in more detail later on in the review. I've already mentioned that the cylinder surrounds the barrel. Now, with regards to air pressure and what it can hold, there's a bit of a discrepancy here. It is explained in the small print, but within FX's manual, they say that this system can be filled up to a maximum working pressure of 250 bar. Okay. However, if you take the rifle, the barrel and the chassis out of the stock, underneath and printed on the cylinder, it says maximum fill pressure 230 bar. Now guys, if you're like me and you refer to the manual to see how you're supposed to use a product, and the product says in quite bold, you know, well, it says here, I'll put an image of this up on screen anyway so you can see it. It says here maximum overall pressure in system 250 bar. Now underneath it, it does say max air reservoir pressure, see markings on air reservoir. Okay, fair enough, disclaimer. But those markings are not visible without taking the stock off the rifle, and that is a no-no in my opinion. That really is, especially if you've got several rifles to your collection and all of them have different filling pressures. You know, if you go over the safe working pressure, then not only are you risking blowing seals, which means a trip back down to your local gunsmith, but it's a pressurized unit, and if that blows, I'm not being funny, it's a bomb. It's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to hurt you. So the markings should be clearer, that's for sure. Now let me carry on with the specs. With regards to the length of the rifle, from the butt to the muzzle, it's 930mm or 36.61 inches long. The reach from the butt to the trigger is 345mm or 13.58 inches. As you can see, there's no open sights on this, but it is fitted with a dovetail rail, and the overall length of that dovetail rail is 133mm or 5.24 inches. But guys, please bear in mind it spans the breech. If you've got a single mount for a dovetail, it's not going to fit, because when you actually go to fit the magazine within the breech, it will foul of the mount. So you do need to have two separate posts. The rail offset, so from the top of the rail to the centre of the barrel, is 15.64mm or 0.62 of an inch, and the rifle weighs in at a very lightweight 2.26 kilos or 4.98 pounds. It really is light. Bear with me, I need a drink. I've been suffering, I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is very hoarse at the moment. I've had this bloody cold for the last couple of days and it's really annoying me. Right, rotary magazines. Here it is. Again, I'll talk more about this later on, but it doesn't come with a single shot tray. It comes with a rotary magazine. The .177 has 16 shots, the .22 has 14 shots, and the .25 has 12 shots. Okay, let me carry on. Now, moving forward, the barrel length, as I said, is 500mm. It's or what's that, 19.69 inches. I'm just going to move that there. It is threaded on the end with a 1/2 inch UNF screw, so that you can attach a sound moderator onto this, and you're going to want to do so because it barks, but I'll give you the readings later on. And it goes back on. It's a nicely machined fit. Yeah. The cylinder length, so that comes in at 463mm or 18.23 inches, and its diameter is 34.09mm or 1.34 inches. There is no integral moderator in this because it's a cylinder. So unlike a lot of shrouds on many of the other sorts of PCPs that you can get on the market, the shroud can act as a sound moderator. It's got baffles within it and it deflects the air away from the pellet. This doesn't. No, it's a little bit loud when you shoot it. And with regards to energy, now I was quite surprised with this actually, and I'm going to talk more about it later on. But I ran this over the Crony I only ran 5 shots over it. I'm not the sort of person that's going to do 100 shots or a full fill. It just, that to be fair, bores the hell out of me, and I don't think it's really useful. What you want is an instant indication as to what power it's shooting at. I mean, you go to an HFT course and they'll ask you to put 1 shot over a crony, possibly 2, just to see what power it's shooting at. They're not going to ask you to do 100 shots, and I'm not going to do it. I ran 5 shots over the crony. I used the Premier Ultra Magnums at 14.3 grains, so a lightish pellet, but not anything untoward. And get this, guys, for a regulated rifle, the fastest speed it achieved was 553.7 feet per second, and the slowest speed was 535.9 feet per second. Bear in mind, it's regulated. It's giving us a difference of 17.8 feet per second over 5 shots. That's mad. I've shot many a rifle that's unregulated, which has got much tighter tolerances than that, you know, so I was really quite shocked by that. And when you actually work it out, this is kicking out 9.32 foot-pound of energy, or 12.64 joules. Woefully underpowered. We've got a 12 foot-pounds limit here in the UK, and I would expect, this being a traditional sporting rifle that you're going to be using for vermin control, small game hunting, that it should be around about the 11.3, 11.5 mark. Now, I'm not a gunsmith, okay, and I'm not going to mess about with rifles I don't own, and I also don't want to break the law. If you tune this rifle up, make sure that you get somebody who knows what they're doing to do it for you. Otherwise, you could very easily go over the 12 foot-pound limit. I don't know whether it's fitted with anti-tampers or not, but if you do go over that 12 foot-pound limit and you're caught with it, you're caught with a firearm. That's an offence, so don't do it. Right, okay, that said, air supply. So, with the 500mm barrel, the cylinder has 208 cc's. The 600mm barrel has 260 cc capacity, and the 700mm has 307 cc capacity. Sorry guys, I just had to break off there because, to be honest, my nose was running. I needed to blow my nose. Bit gross, apologies. Right, let me carry on. So, plenum. I don't know what the plenum size is on this, and I don't know what the pressure it's been set at is. So, I guess it's something that you'll learn with time, because there isn't a separate manometer for the plenum. There's only the one on the side of the rifle that you can see. Maximum fill pressure, already spoken about that. The cylinder says 230 bar. FX, if you're looking, please amend this so that it ties in with your rifle, because if people don't read it properly and they just pick on the 250 bar, which is the figure that they can see, when they come to fill this, they're going to blow the seals, or they might cause some serious damage. That needs to be amended. I mentioned that there's a hole in the stock to accommodate a probe. Here's the probe. I'll put an image up on screen. Obviously this is the end that goes in with the 2 rubber O-rings, and on the back you've got a Foster QR end, so that will go to a Foster coupler, and it makes life a lot easier. You can just simply plug it in and out as opposed to screwing it into the whip. With regards to adjustment, now I had to take this out of the stocks for a reason which I'll explain later on, but it does appear to have several ways of adjusting the air pressure or the power on the block. There seems to be a screw at the back and there's some screws on the front. Now, ordinarily I would have said it could have a hammer spring adjuster on the back, but I don't believe this has got a hammer spring at all. I think it's got a free floating hammer, and the reason why I say that is because if I do this, hoping the microphone picked that up, you can hear something sliding within the action, and I think that's the hammer being able to go backwards and forwards. That may well pressure up once you've cocked the rifle. I'm not sure how the mechanism works, but I'm assuming it's a free floating hammer. So how you adjust the power on the back, I really don't know. Like I said, I'm not a gunsmith. You would need to take that to a specialist, somebody that knows what they're doing, and get them to tune it up for you. Right, achieved shot count. Okay, so I filled this up to 230 bar, and I shot it down to 160 bar. That's with the pellet test and the accuracy test, sighting the rifle in, running over the crony. I achieved, or recorded, 78 shots. Okay, now if I was to fill this to 230 bar and shoot it down to say 100 bar, which is where I'm guessing the plenum might be set at, then extrapolate the figures and you're looking at around about 145 shots per fill on this rifle. Guys, if you've got a 2.2 and it's sub 12 foot-pound, this particular model, let me know if you're getting any more than that. I mentioned that you're going to want to put a moderator on the end of this. It does bark when you shoot it. It's kicking out 97.8 decibels. That's loud. You're really going to want to bring that down to around 80 to 82 decibels with a decent mod. So yeah, something to bear in mind. And then with regards to its price, well, the base model, not including the scope or the mounts, that's mine, or the camera, just the base model on its own costs £700. If you were to go for the pro version of this, then you'd be looking at £2,700. There's a lot of difference in money between the two types. What do you get with your money? Well, basically in the box, and it comes in a cardboard box, you get the rifle, you get a manual, you get a couple O-rings, one filler probe, and one magazine, and that's it. Right guys, that's basically the tech specs over and done with. What I'm going to do now is show you some footage of me shooting the rifle outside, and then what we'll do is come back in and discuss the results. Right, in my hands I've got the FX DRS .22 sub 12 foot-pound PCP air rifle. I've topped it off with a Night Pearl Manual M6 4.5 to 27 by 56 optic, crystal clear optic, fantastic bit of kit. Perfect for accuracy test. On the back of the scope I've got a ScopeMate S18 camera. That's going to allow me to record the footage through the scope as I see it. Now there are several factors that I'm fighting against here. One is the sunlight. This is basically a few days before Christmas and the sun is very low, so because my safe shots are all that way, I'm constantly fighting the sun, so I'm having to reposition targets slightly, but unfortunately it's playing hell with the camera. It is what it is. The second factor that I've got to contend with are the gusts of wind. Now fortunately it's a really nice dry day and it's sunny and it's bright, but we're getting gusts of wind in excess of 30 miles an hour coming from my right side over to the left, and it is pushing the pellet over. And third and finally, the one major factor that I've got to contend with is that this rifle, being straight out of the box, supposedly sub 12 foot-pound, which is what it is woefully underpowered at 9.3 foot-pound of energy. I'll talk more about that in the review, but yeah, I'm quite shocked at how low the power is. I would expect for a traditional sporting air rifle such as this, which would be used for vermin control, small game hunting, and small game I'm talking about rabbits and pigeon, I would expect this to be kicking out about 11.3 to 11.5 foot-pound, not 9.3. So I've sighted the rifle in using one mag full of Air Arms Diabolo fields. They're 16 grain pellets, and by one mag I mean 14 shots, and it's struggling with this wind. It's definitely struggling, but guys, this is real world conditions, you know. I'm not inside, I'm not in an indoor range where you can control everything. This is weather, and at the end of the day, if you're going out to do some vermin control or some small game hunting, you cannot control the weather. You just can't. So this is what I'm contending with. I will make allowances for the rating side of things once I've done the pellet test and the accuracy test. I'll make allowances for the wind, as I always do, but yeah, I'm up against it with this one, that's for sure. Anyway, with regards to the pellet test, I've got 10 different types of pellets to try out. I'm going to start off with the Air Arms Diabolo fields. I will be recording the footage, so I'm just going to switch the camera on now. That's on, that's recording, and let's make a start. The magazine loads in from the right hand side, and I'll talk about that in the review. Safety's on the right hand side, it's in safe at the moment. I'll put it on target and then I'll put it into fire mode. And that sunlight is really horrible because it's coming in directly on my right hand side at my eye level, and it's also bouncing back into the camera eye box, so there is some light interference, should I say, on this back lens here. We just have to make do, guys, sorry. 5 shots, bottom left hand target. Give that wind a chance to calm down a bit. It's blowing a little bit, I'll just get it calm down. Okay, I think that was the last one. Yeah, it is. I actually managed to get a group out of it. Surprised. Lay that down gently so as not to disturb anything. Next up, the JSB Match Diabolo Hades. And these are 15.89 grain. One thing I don't like about this magazine, guys, it's really awkward to try and wind back the spring inside the pellet holder. It's just so tight. If you've got big fingers, it's horrible. This could be much better. And they're not cheap as well. I'll give you a little bit more of information further on down the line. Camera's still recording. Put that into fire mode. We'll go for that little tiny target, the centre one. By the way, the target is courtesy of the Airgun target company, as is the pellet trap. Oh, where are you? Not liking them. So next up, another pellet from JSB. This is the JSB Match Diabolo Exact. Again, 15.89 grain. And JSB, if you're listening, the amount of coverage that I'm giving you guys on this channel, it'd be nice if you were to get in touch and maybe sponsor me with a few pellets now and again. Just a top pellet. Right, so bottom right hand target. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that pellet was caught by wind, but as soon as it gusts in from the right, it's throwing it off. I had 3 pellets there touching each other. The 4th one just went way off to the side. And again, that one flew right. It really does need more power, this rifle. Woefully underpowered. Right, next up, Victory Shock. These are 14.6 grains, cheap and cheerful pellet. But you've got to consider them nowadays, because at the end of the day, lead is getting so expensive. Most people can't afford to spend 20 quid on a tin of pellets. Gone absolutely mad. It wasn't that long ago when, you know, £4.50 for a tin of pellets was considered expensive. Not anymore. Camera's still recording, which is a good thing. Okay. Middle left. Whew. Wow. Now you see, as soon as the wind dies down, it's getting quite near to target, but if we have a gust, wow, it throws that pellet across. Next up, we got the Premier Hollow Points, my Crosman. They are, sorry, these are 14.3 grain as well. So not a lot of difference between that and the Victory shocks. Centre target. All high and spread out. Okay. And then I'll just do one more before I have to switch or change my camera over, because it's got a limited recording time. I think it records for about 22 minutes. I'm hoping I've got enough time here to get this one in. So Premier Ultra Magnum, 14.3 grain. And we're going to go centre right this time. So this is safe. And it's fed in. Camera's recording. Okay, well, 3 pellets are touching. You'll see. Right guys, I'm just going to switch this off and switch it back on again, so I don't run out of recording time. I'm back. Right, next up we've got the Bisley long range golds, LRGs. I don't know what weight they are. God, I don't like this magazine, it's horrible. Now this pellet has performed well for me in the likes of Crow rifles. No idea how it will perform in this, but we'll find out. Put the lights on. Come on. There we go. So we're going top left. Camera's recording. Okay, that didn't seem to be too bad. Next is a pellet that's been around a long time. That's the RWS Superdome. And when I was speaking to Mr. Anschutz at the Great British Shooting Show, he was telling me that his company used these pellets to test their rifles, and he's happy with them. So let's see how they perform in a FX. If they're good enough for Mr. Anschutz, they should be good enough for anybody. Top middle. Camera's recording. Well, I don't think they're good enough for FX. Okay, so what have I got left? Oops. Where's my pellet? Two more pellets to go. Next up we got Webley VMX 0.22. These are 14.66 grain. Camera's still recording. Okay, just want to make sure that I'm double loaded there. No, I haven't. So finally, we've got a tin of H&N Field Target Trophies, 5.5mm, 14.66 grain. And again, with regards to H&N, I spoke to their guys, York Siemens, at the British Shooting Show, start of the year, and no word of a lie, when I asked them whether they would be interested in sponsoring me again, just obviously trying to get some pellets for the channel, and I'll give them the airtime, of course, but no, they just turned around and said, no, sorry, we've got our marketing budget for this year. So basically I was poo-pooed, so no, I couldn't get any pellets out of them, but you know, they get enough airtime. Still, what goes around comes around. Let's see how these perform. Right, I'm going to pick that centre line, or the intersection between those 4 targets. Okay, didn't like them. Right. Interesting. I'm going to have to go and look at those targets and decide which pellets I'm going to do an accuracy test with. Alright guys, I'll speak to you in a minute. Okay guys, looking at this card, the tightest group I've got is with the Air Arms Diabolo field, so I'm going to go with that pellet for the accuracy test. The rest are just horrendous. I mean, it's not great. I mean, the target's set at 30 metres and we got crosswinds, but even so, it's not great. I thought at first that those JSB Match Diabolo exacts might provide a better group, but they've got 2 wayward pellets there that produced a larger spread. So what I'm going to do now, quickly load up this magazine. I'm going to load it up fully just because it would be easier. Ooh. God, I don't like this mag, it's horrible. It's horrible. Really, you know, they say that they put a lot of time and effort into the design of the rifles, and I you know, I believe they do, but in all honesty, to get something like this so awkward, it's probably one of the I keep banging on about it, but it's probably one of the most awkward magazines I've had to fill. It's just horrible. You've got, it doesn't help that this retaining lug at the top gets in the way of your fingers as well, but for me, Viroc have got the best magazine in the HW100, very closely followed by Caliber Gun, because in their cricket it's a very similar magazine. Those you can't go wrong with, they're so easy, nothing to go wrong with them, you just load them in, you can do it one-handed. Crowds are probably better than these. For the price of them, it's not good. Okay, what I'm going to do, as always, I'm going to put a pellet in each of the outer 4 targets, the corners, and I'll do a group of 5 in the centre target. But initially, just to give me and the rifle a little bit more of a chance, I'm going to get rid of the first pellet. I'll call that the fowler, and I'm just going to shoot that into the back of the box. And then I'm going to use the next 2 pellets as sighters on the small centre target, and then we'll do the accuracy test. Okay, so I'm going to give it as best a chance as I can. So, all important, make sure that the camera's on. That's recording. Let's get rid of this first pellet. Okay, so shooting a bit to the right. Now for the 2 sighters. I'm going to let that wind drop as well if I can. Shooting to the left. Okay, that was bang on. Now for the accuracy test. So a pellet in each of the outer targets. Whoa, that went way off. and again. Madness. Now for the group of 5. It's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. I think the last 2 shots were alright, but the others, shocking. Shocking. I've got a few more in here. I'm just going to pick another target just for a bit of fun and see if I can tighten up that group. Let's go for the centre left target. Okay, I'm out. Well guys, just goes to show that a rifle with only 9.32 foot-pound of energy doesn't cut it when you've got a windy day. You'd basically have to turn around and check the wind and decide whether you're going to go out or not. Woefully underpowered, and it's a shame. You know, straight out of the box you'd expect an FX to perform nicely. I know that they're a rifle that's kind of designed to be tuned by the shooter, but we're sub 12 foot-pound, and at the end of the day, if you're not careful, if you don't know what you're doing, you could tune this up over that limit. I'm not sure whether it's easy to do or not, because I'm not a gunsmith and I don't play around with these rifles, but you know, you've got to be so careful not to go over the 12 foot-pounds limit in the UK, otherwise you're breaking the law. It's as simple as that. Unless of course you've got an FAC, a firearms certificate, and that allows you to have a full powered rifle, and provided you've got space on that certificate for something like this, then go for it. But I've got to say, 9.32 foot-pound, you've seen the results down range. They're not great. They're really not great. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk more inside. Okay guys, so if you're watching this, you're obviously a VIP member of my Patreon channel, so thank you very much for joining. It means a lot. Your money's not going to go to waste. Basically, it's going to help the channel to grow and for me to continue creating more videos like this for you to hopefully enjoy and, you know, gain some insight if it's what you're after, you know. I do know that my reviews have helped people make a decision with regards to purchasing a rifle or not, and they've been pleased with the results, so hopefully I can continue doing that. Also, don't forget guys, as a VIP member, you're going to get entered into the mystery prize draw, and I hope to do at least 4 of those each and every year. And don't forget, if you want to use my targets, you can download them from the channel as well, from the Patreon channel. Right, that said, so thank you very much. That said, let's crack on. Let's start rating this rifle, and we're going to work on or talk about the design and build side of it first. Aesthetics, how do I rate it out of 5 stars? I really like the look of this. I like the fact that it's all black. I like the low profile. I like the fact that the cylinder surrounds the barrel, gives it that chunky style. What I will say is, and I'll pop some images on screen now, I'm not really keen, and I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I'm not really keen on the walnut stocks. I know they're beautifully made, and They're made by Manelli, so you know the quality is going to be right up there. But I don't particularly like the look of them. I much prefer what we have here, the simplicity of it. It just lends itself to a, the hunting rifle, something that's going to not stand out. You're going to take it on the field, it's going to get used. Yeah, for me, it looks the part. I like all black. Depending on the rifle, I do like wooden stocks. Don't get me wrong, I do. And if you get high quality walnut, then that can be beautiful, absolutely stunning. But I've seen the images with regards to the variants on this, and I think I prefer the soft touch synthetic stock. For me, I like the look of it. Now, again, this is purely a personal opinion. You can decide for yourselves, but I've rated it 4 out of 5 stars for aesthetics. I think it's lovely. Now, for features and fit, again, because this is a traditional sporting rifle, it's going to score low, because there's hardly anything that you can do to the stock here to make it more ergonomically pleasing to yourself. Ergonomics, remember, ergonomics is about adapting something to suit you at a later date, okay? It's how adaptable it is. It's not that it's been designed. I mean, people kind of have this, they have different ideas on ergonomics. A lot of people will say, well, look, it's got an ergonomic design because it's all shaped. Yes, it has been designed that way, in the manufacturing process or pre-manufacturing, because somebody has thought about the shape, how it would fit a person. But ergonomics really comes down to how adaptable that product is once it's been purchased, once it's in use. So if you look at the stock and the forend, the butt pad is not adjustable. It doesn't go up and down. It doesn't cant left or right. It can't pull it out. There is no bag rider on this. There's no foot at the end to be able to adjust the elevation. The comb doesn't go up and down, doesn't go in and out. The forend, well, like I said before, it's shaped, but there are no additional Picatinny rails on here or weaver rails. There are no studs within it, so you can't fit a bipod on here, not easily, not without drilling the forend. And whoever does that, I would recommend that you take care. For one thing, make sure that you take it out, take the barrel and the rifle out of the stock before you drill this, because don't forget, that's a pressurized cylinder, so you don't want to drill straight through and go into that, otherwise you're going to have a nasty accident. But you know what I'm saying, it's basically very fixed in its design. Yes, it's comfortable, it sits in the shoulder well, it feels nice to the hand, but that's it. You can't adjust it anymore. That's what I mean by ergonomics. So traditional style rifles are always going to score low down with regards to that. And if you look at the metalwork, a similar sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Apologies. It's a similar sort of thing with the metalwork here, because you haven't got open sights, you've only got a dovetail rail, which you can attach a Picatinny rail onto if you want to. Why FX haven't done that in the first place, I have no idea. Maybe to keep the profile low, but yes, you can attach a Picatinny rail onto it if you want to. But there are no other kind of rails, or there's nothing else that you can do with it. It is what it is. So with regards to features, additional features on the stock, it scores 9 out of a possible 33, and on the metalwork it scores 16 out of a possible 33. The fit for me is okay. Well, it's better than okay. It's not great. And the reason why it's not great is because I would rather a longer butt to the rifle. For me, this is a little bit short. It kind of, this is why I'm assuming that it might be a Manelli stock, and please tell me if it's not. but I'm kind of assuming that it is, because Manelli stocks tend to have short butts. I don't know why, but they just do. And I rather a bit longer reach. So, but again, that's a personal fit, you know, it's a personal feeling. How have I scored it for features and fits? Well, overall, I've given it a score of 2.7 out of 5 stars. Okay, build quality. So, if we're looking at the action and the chassis, although everything looks to fit very, very nicely, within literally 2 or 3 shots, when I first got this out of the box, the safety mechanism that you can see here, this little lever that goes backwards and forwards, basically canted over so that the button, which should project directly away from the chassis, actually went in line and so wouldn't go to the end properly. Now, I said I took it out of the stock for a reason, and that reason was to see what was going on with this lever here. And all this lever is basically a rod, a little metal rod that goes through a brass fitting, okay? It doesn't have any locking nuts, it just basically pushes through a drilled hole. So with time, that's going to get looser, and with time, that's going to end up going backwards and forwards and twisting to the point where somebody's going to get very, very upset with it, and probably disengage it or do something stupid with it. But you know, it's a bit poor, to be honest. It could be a lot better than that, and you can ensure that that doesn't then twist over, because it really can. So yeah, I was wondering what was going off with that. Secondly, there's an issue with the manometer. Now, this is FX's own manometer, and as you can see, it's a white scale on a black background. There is no traffic light system on that, so you don't know what's the max fuel pressure. You just have to remember what it says on the cylinder. And there's actually about 10 bar of pressure difference between what the manometer says, the rifle's manometer, and what my diver's bottle gauge says. And I'd rather trust my diver's bottle than I would this. Yeah. So, build quality with regards to the chassis, although everything looks and fits together nicely, I'm going to score it 3 out of 5 stars. You guys may think that's harsh, but at the end of the day, we've got an issue with the safety and we've got an issue with the manometer, and they're 2 major parts on a rifle, so on a PCP in particular. Everything else, you know, the cylinder itself, perfect. The barrel, well, I can't see anything at fault with the barrel, and I can't see anything at fault with the stock. To be honest, the stock, I've already said, it's probably the finest synthetic stock that I've seen on any air rifle. When you take the action out of the stock and the barrel out of the stock, the machining inside is just perfect. It really is. There's nothing to fall out with that at all. So for the chassis, I've given it 3 out of 5. For the air system and the barrel, I've given it 4 out of 5. For the stock, I've given it 5 out of 5. And the sundry items, well, I have to say, all I've got with regards to sundry items is a probe, a couple O-rings, manual, and this. Okay, this I don't like. This, I think, at the end of the day, is not going to last. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I'm finding at the moment, it looks like it won't be too long before there is a stress fracture where the pellet probe pushes the pellet past the faceplate through the magazine into the breech. And what's really frustrating about this is that you only get one in the box. Now I looked up how much these are to replace, and they're £55 each. They're not cheap. Neither is the rifle, to be fair, at £700, so I would have thought that FX would have at least dropped in another magazine, as many other manufacturers do on their lesser grade rifles. Okay, and in fairness, I think from the experience of using this, I prefer those other magazines. Similar shape, but work differently. Personal preference. I'll probably get slated for saying that, but you know, I said this would be a no bullshit review. I'm giving you my experience, my thoughts on using this rifle. I've mentioned the safety. The positioning is good. It's away from the trigger and it's in a nice, easy, accessible place. It is quite loud. Yeah, if it clicks, that's gonna, basically that might spook some quarry. So you do have to try and put it across manually, but it's sprung. So, and to be fair, that little knob on the safety is so small, it's hard to actually control it. So they need to do something with this. If it's going to be a sporting rifle, at least make it extend a little bit more and let that fit. But I do think that, maybe not, I thought they might clash actually with the cocking lever, but that's not great. And the fact that it's already failed on me within a couple of shots, it's not good at all. So I've given it 3.5 out of 5 stars for the safety. Okay guys, that's the design and build part over and done with. Let's talk about accuracy and performance. Alright, excuse me, let me get another drink. Blimey, my voice is going all over the place at the moment. Right, accuracy and performance. Let's start off with handling and dimensions and fit and weight and all that sort of stuff. At 4.98 pounds for a traditional sporting rifle that you're going to take out on the field, it scores 5 out of 5 stars. It really does. The reason being is you can carry this around all day and you're not going to get tired. I think, to be fair, the scope is probably as heavy as the rifle. Not quite, but you know, it's yeah. it's a very lightweight rifle and it's nice to be able to lug it around. The actual handling and the balance, again, it's compact, it's nice, it's easy to use, it's easy and nice to shoulder. I've got this scope cam on the end and I've got a very high-end scope on this, purely because I wanted to get the best optics I could for you guys on the accuracy and performance test. The eye relief on this scope is about 4 inch, so basically it's forcing me to put my cheek on the back end of the comb. It's not the most comfortable of positions, but I can't push this scope any further forward because of the mounts. So really, this is the setup that I've got. Now, if I was to use this myself as a hunting rifle, I would change the optics and I would have a smaller eye relief, just in order to be able to allow me to get my head in a more comfortable position, which is there. But that is too close to the scope for it to work properly. Okay, like I said, in the design and build part of this review, this buttstock for me is too short. I'd like it extending by about at least another 1.5 inches. However, saying that, handling, balance, weight, overall I've given it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah. Right, next, loading. So, loading and indexing. Right. So this is a 14 shot magazine. It's not 30 odd shots, you know. It's only going to score midway because I have to take into account the different sizes of magazines that you get on the market for different rifles. You know, it's when you're grading something, you've got to look at the whole picture. So I've scored it 3 out of 5 stars. With regards to indexing, although I didn't actually have any issues indexing the pellets through the magazine into the barrel. What I did find with this is that, and I'll put some images on screen now for you, is that the cover plate has two rubber O-rings which act as a friction stop or a friction hold on the magazine itself. So when you push it in, it just grips on the side of the breech. The issue, what I found with that, is that because they're rubber, when you push it into the breech, it feels like there's some elastic resistance. So it feels like as you push it in, it wants to spring back a little bit, and you never quite know whether it's going to seat properly into the breech and allow the probe to push the pellet through that plastic face. I know that, you know, people have spoken about these magazines and the other sorts of magazines on different reviews on different channels. I've seen them, and I know that there are companies out there that are doing aftermarket parts or, you know, 3D printed magazines, which by all accounts are actually better than these. I think it's something that you might want to invest in if you purchase this rifle. And the fact that you only get one with the rifle is a bit of a shame, really, because they're not cheap. If you lose this, it's £55 to replace. It's, you know, and it is likely to break in time because it's only plastic. You know, it's not steel, it's not aluminium, it's plastic, so it's going to wear out, and they're expecting you to buy another one. A bit poor. So all in all, for loading and indexing, this may sound harsh, but I've given it 3 out of 5 stars. Now, the accuracy test. Okay, so you've seen the footage of me shooting the rifle outside, and this is the final test card. Okay, when I look at this, and bear in mind, I checked the wind speeds again. The average wind speed today was 16 miles per hour, and we had gusts of up to 30 miles per hour. And it was obvious that it was blowing the pellets left and right. You could see it when I was doing the pellet test. Because this rifle is so woefully underpowered at 9.32 foot-pound, the pellets are going to get blown over. You know, they're going to get blown around. So it's very difficult to do an accuracy test outside. However, anybody that buys this is going to buy it to use it for vermin control or for small game hunting. They're going to be shooting it outside in natural conditions, with weather, with wind, with rain. So it should be able to put pellet where you want it to go. And this was very, very hit and miss. Saying that, it managed to pull it out of the bag somehow. I've no idea, but it did. The nearest to the bull was this shot here. Bear in mind it's at 30 meters, okay, and I don't shoot it, I don't have a rifle fixed in a rest like this, okay, and it's not a PRS system, so it doesn't have a very fancy rest on the front or bags at the back. I basically put it on a simple rest and I mount this in my shoulder and I'm shooting out at 30 meters. It's what you'd expect to do out in the field. So 30 meters, this shot here, 1.35 millimeters center to center. Okay, 1.35 mil, which was amazing. For the furthest shot away from bull was this one here, and that was at 24.13 mil. So there's quite a lot of difference. You know, there's about an inch difference in this accuracy test on 4 shots. That's how much the wind was affecting this, and that's how much being underpowered is affecting this. And then with regards to the group in the centre, well look, if you look at these 4 shots here, that's 12.39 millimeters, okay? These 3, well blimey, that would be about 6 or 7 mil, okay? And this one has thrown the whole group out to 27.57 millimeters. But I'll put, excuse me, if I haven't already done so, I'll put an image on screen so you can get to see all the different dimensions on the card. So or the overall score that the rifle gets. Oh, and with regards to the pellet test, wow, that was quite tricky. But I did say during the footage that I would make allowances for high wind, and what that means is I put a multiplier in on 1.5 or 1.5 times my normal allowable tolerances due to the gusts of wind. What that meant was that 8 of the 10 pellets shot fell within allowable tolerances at 30 meters. If there wasn't any wind, then you'd probably have somewhere in the region of 4 or 5 pellets. If this was a scorecard, it would only be 4 or 5 that the rifle would entertain, I suppose. So overall, for pellet and accuracy, it scores 4 out of 5. It's done actually quite well with regards to accuracy, but it's got this major issue of being woefully underpowered. Now, let's talk about the trigger. What do I think about this? It's very, very nice. Okay, I've not had to do anything to it. Like I say, I don't mess with guns, and it was extremely predictable. Very nice first stage and very crisp release. You knew when it was going to happen. Not too light so that it would just go off unexpectedly, and certainly not heavy where you're pulling and thinking, is this thing going to go off or not? It was just set just right. For me, I think, you know, it's perfect. For the fact that it's come out of the box and you can shoot it, 4.5 out of 5. Predictability, 4.5 out of 5. What's let it down is the adjustability. Now, apparently you can adjust this, but you've got to take the trigger guard off first to be able to do that. And that's just a pain, okay? Especially when you need 2 different types of driver just to get the trigger guard off. So, yeah, it's they could have done better with that one for sure. I mean, there are many manufacturers out there that simply drill a hole in the base plate or in the trigger guard to now allow you to put a screwdriver or a hex key, whatever you want, through there and adjust the mechanism. Obviously you can't do that with this. Who knows, it may be that the FX have decided in their infinite wisdom that people like to take their rifles to bits, you know, and mess around with them all that way. Maybe that's where they're coming with on this one, so they're kind of forcing you to take it to bits to adjust it. Who knows? You know, I said it right at the very beginning of this video that they are now world renowned, and they're, well, I doubt if there's any air rifle shooter on this planet that hasn't heard of FX, so obviously they must be doing something right, that's for sure. I've mentioned power levels. I've said it kicks out 9.32 foot-pound. That scores 3 out of 5 stars. Shot count per fill, well, at 145 shots per fill, which is what I've extrapolated from the figures, it's not doing too bad. 4 out of 5 stars. The air efficiency, so basically how many shots you get per bar of air, equates to 1.1 shots per 1 bar of air pressure. So it's okay. Overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. When it comes to noise levels, I've already mentioned it's kicking out 97.8 decibels. That's loud. You definitely need a sound moderator, otherwise you're going to scare everything away. And as a result, it's scoring 2 out of 5 stars. It's probably one of the loudest PCPs that I've had on test that's sub 12 foot-pound. And with regards to value for money, now I've already mentioned what you get for your money. So the rifle costs £700 here in the UK. That's without the scope, the mounts, the camera. You know, that's all mine. Just the base model. And for that £700 you get the rifle, you get a box, you get a manual, you get a magazine, you get a probe, and you get 2 O-rings. That's it. If you were to buy this as your first rifle, you would need some form of air supply. That's probably going to be a diver's bottle, because you're not going to want to fill this up with a stirrup pump. Or a foot pump, should I say. You're also going to want a scope of a reasonable quality. You're going to need some mounts, and mounts aren't cheap. You're going to need some pellets, and you're probably going to need a moderator. Put it this way, there's not going to be a lot of change out of £400 in addition to the original spend on the gun. So £1,070 to £1,100. Is it worth the money? Is it value for money? Well, because of this shot here, and because of the distances and the group sizes on this accuracy test, when I put those figures into my algorithm, it's actually stating that it is pretty good value for money. It's scoring it 4 out of 5 stars, mainly because of that shot there. So it pulled it out of the bag, and also this group here. If that shot was anything like these, then it would be scored a lot lower, that's for sure. But it was a very windy day. Overall, if I combine all the scores for design and build and accuracy and performance, the rifle is scoring 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I guess the question is, would I buy it? I hate to say this, but no, I wouldn't. Even though the algorithm is telling me that you know, it's supposedly good value for money, I wouldn't buy it for several reasons. I don't like the fact that this safety is as fragile as it is. I don't like the manometer on it. And I don't like the fact that it's so woefully underpowered, which means that you have to take it to a gunsmith, somebody that knows what they're doing, in order to adjust it. And you'd need to do that on a regular basis, don't forget, because depending on the weather, depending on the temperature outside, these pressures can go up and down, so you need to be able to make sure that you're constantly under the 12 foot-pound limit safely. So yeah, for me, it's a no-go, and I hate to say it, but I really liked the other FX that I reviewed earlier on in my kind of series of videos. I like that one. I'm not so keen on this one. Right guys, that's the end of the review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, what I'm going to say is that, as always, if you're out there and you're shooting, please be safe. Look after yourself, look after those around you, make sure you know where your pellet's going to land and it stays within your permission. Okay? Don't go breaking the law, it's just not worth it. And also, as always, for now, take care. I'll say goodbye and see you on the next one.